Principles of altruism, irthar. These are a set of principles to help explain the spiritual station of altruism, el-ithar, as mentioned by Ibn al-Qayyim in Madarij al-Salikin. Principle 1. Altruism is praiseworthy and virtuous. Altruism is a praiseworthy and virtuous quality. This principle shows that altruism is among the noble stations in Islamic teachings. Allah praised its people, saying, "They give others preference over themselves, even when they themselves are in need." Altruism is the opposite of shi. It means that a person prefers others over himself while needing what he gives up. He gives someone else food while he himself is hungry. He gives money while he himself needs it. To clarify further, the opposite of altruism is shu, not bukhl, al-bukhl. Shu is greed for what is not in one's possession, coveting what is in the hands of people due to greed and lowliness of the soul. Bukhl is withholding what is already in one's own possession. Both are blameworthy, but shu is worse. And this is why the Prophet said, "Beware of shu." Another opposite of altruism is athara, al-athra, selfishness. It resembles ithar in its letters, but is the complete opposite in meaning. Altruism is praiseworthy, while athara is blameworthy. Athara means a person withholds good for himself and deprives his brother, prioritizing his own desires. The Prophet ﷺ told the Ansar, "You shall face athara after me," meaning people will prefer themselves over you and withhold worldly things from you. Scholars divide generosity into levels. 1. Sakha, giving from abundance. 2. Jud, ul-jod, giving most of what one has and keeping only a little. 3. Ifrthar, al-ithar, preferring others over oneself despite one's own need. This is the highest level and what befits the companions in the Ansar. The verse concludes with, "They are the successful," indicating that altruism leads to true success. Principle 2. If people favor themselves over you, while you practice altruism, know that good is intended for you. Ibn al-Qayyim derived this from reflecting on the Ansar. They supported the Prophet ﷺ, sheltered him, upheld Islam, and he declared that loving them is a sign of faith. Yet he informed them that after his death, people would show selfishness toward them and withhold worldly things. Ibn al-Qayyim concluded that when a person practices altruism like the Ansar and does not see worldly reward for it, good is intended for him by Allah. Allah withheld worldly compensation from the Ansar so that their reward would be pure and complete in the hereafter. If people had repaid them with money and status, their reward would have been limited to this life. Allah instead kept their recompense for himself. Likewise, if you practice altruism, prefer others, and receive no worldly return, it is a sign that Allah intends good for you, just as He intended good for the Ansar. Principle 3. Types of generosity are many. Ibn al-Qayyim explained that generosity manifests in many forms, and each type affects the heart and increases one's devotion to Allah. He listed 10 types. 1. Generosity with one's life, the highest form, such as martyrdom in Allah's path. 2. Generosity through leadership, using one's position to serve Muslims, treating one's rank as a resource to spend in their service. 3. Generosity with comfort, tiring oneself for the sake of others, serving the needy, orphans, widows, and contributing ideas and efforts. 4. Generosity with knowledge, sharing whatever one learns for Allah's sake. 5. Generosity with influence and standing, using one's reputation to help others. 6. Generosity with physical effort, assisting others with one's body. 7. Generosity with one's honor, forgiving those who wrong or slander you. 8. generosity with good character, kindness, warmth, patience, forgiveness, and good companionship. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Do not belittle any good deed, even meeting your brother with a cheerful face." Anyone who has any of these forms of wealth, character, patience, forgiveness, should spend from it, even if he has no money. Principle 4. Do not prefer anyone over your share with Allah. If a person has a certain devotion, Quran portion, adhkar, acts of worship, he must not sacrifice it for others. Do not abandon what brings your heart close to Allah for the sake of worldly interruptions. Ibn al-Qayyim uses the example of a traveler who stops to chat while his companions continue moving forward. Similarly, the righteous advance far ahead while one delays due to distractions. This includes the gift of a peaceful, focused heart. If Allah grants you inner tranquility and focus, do not let trivial matters steal this blessing. Once the heart becomes scattered, when will it reunite? Most people prefer others over Allah, easily interrupting Quran, worship, or retreat for trivial reasons. The true form of uthar here is preferring Allah. You do not give up your portion with Him for anything. Principle 5. 3 matters help a person. Achieve altruism. Ibn al-Qayyim mentioned 3 foundational aids. 1. Honoring sacred rights, valuing charity, giving, generosity, and kindness, because Allah values them and loves the generous. 2. Despising shuh, greed, recognizing its vileness, especially in difficult economic times. It reflects worldly attachment and weak faith. 3. Loving noble character, aspiring to die noble and generous, for Allah loves the generous one, should pursue virtues like forgiveness, patience, kindness, generosity, and compassion. When these 3 come together, a person becomes capable of ithar. Principle 6. The highest form of dhar is preferring Allah's pleasure. The greatest level of altruism is to prefer Allah's pleasure over everything. This is the station of the prophets and the righteous, who seek only Allah's approval even if all of creation disapproves. They may oppose entire nations for the sake of truth, yet Allah eventually brings victory and acceptance. Ibn al-Qayyim states, "Whoever prefers Allah's pleasure over people's pleasure, Allah will turn hardships into blessings, change hearts in His favor, and grant a good ending. Whoever prefers people's approval over Allah's, Allah and the people will be displeased with him." One must understand that satisfying all people is impossible. Even prophets could not do so. This principle does not call to cutting off or opposing people, but rather to making Allah's pleasure one's ultimate motivation, prioritizing His approval above all else.